What's good, everybody? I hope y'all are having a great day. In today's video, I'm going over an aggressive e4 opening, really going up against this move pawn to e5. Okay, we're going with the Nakhmanson Gambit here. It starts out with the Scotch. Okay, so we're playing the Scotch, going into the Scotch Gambit, and then against knight f6, the most popular move online, and then against knight takes e4, the most popular move online. And by the way, these are, the best options that black has against the Scotch Gambit. Knight c3. That's what we're going with here. The Nakhmanson Gambit. Now, this isn't the engine move, okay? The engine move is rook to e1, giving us a dead even game, okay, ultimately. Knight to c3, if black plays perfectly here, they're about -1, okay, right around there. So they're not winning. They definitely have an advantage if they play perfectly against this, but hardly anyone does. As you're going to see, there are so many ways for black to mess this kind of position up. I'm actually including this gambit in my upcoming the aggressive e4 repertoire course. In that course, against the move of pawn to e5 from black, I am recommending the Scotch Gambit. I got a bunch of other recommendations for you guys that play e4 against the CARO-KANN, the Sicilian, the Scandi, the PIRC, the Alekhines, the Nibs. I'm trying to give you a full repertoire here against all the top options. And in this position here, I'm going to be covering the Nakhmanson Gambit, and then, of course, I'm going to be covering the engine move. Okay, so you should have both there, right? You should have the engine move in hand and the Gambit as well. But today, we are talking about all the tricks and traps available. I do want to mention I have a discount code, a 30% off discount code for all of my online courses. That is good through the end of Black Friday. All you got to do, go down in the description below or the pinned comment and plug in the discount code BF30 or BF30 for those of you listening in. And yeah, if you do that, you can get 30% off no matter how many courses you decide to invest in. We got the Hippopotamus defense, check PIRC, Ponziani, knight c3 against the Scandi. The modern Scandi, did I already mention that? The Endgames course? I don't know. You get it. There's a bunch of stuff available there for you guys. 30% off, only good through the end of Black Friday. Here we go. Against knight c3. What could we see here? Well, we're going to be covering what happens if black captures, right? What happens if they capture? Which, by the way, these are the top 2 moves for black, according to Stockfish. With knight takes c3, we're going to capture back. And by the way, if black takes on c3, the moment they do this with their pawn, they're dead losing. We are winning with knight g5. We're just absolutely winning this position. We're going after f7. How does black stop this? If d5, we can take with the bishop. We're threatening f7 again, right? If bishop e6, we can take. We could throw in a check there. If g6... hey, let's mess up some of black's pawn structure and open up e5 for our queen. Sure, we're down 2 pawns, but this rook is going to fall. You can't defend the rook. And sure, the rook can run away, but then we take on e6 and take the rook right off the board. Returning to knight g5. Let's say black doesn't play d5 and they try to defend f7 with their knight. Okay, there's multiple things you have here. Rook to e1. This is probably the easiest win. Rook to e1, pinning the knight, going after f7. That's easy. That's straightforward. That said, the engine line is pretty fun. We can take on f7 with the knight or the bishop, doesn't matter. We're just going to take like crazy on f7 and then play the move of queen d5. You got to memorize that if you're going to take on f7. This is the only move that's not losing for us. And yeah, black's just cooked at this point. King f6, bishop g5, thanks for the queen. If king g6, pawn to g4, and we're very close to mate there. If we don't get mate, we're getting the black queen. If we see king to e8, we can throw in a check. Bishop g5, crushing. Black can't castle. Plus, they've already moved their king, and e7 is going to fall. Let's say we see the king run to g6. Again, g4, right? g4, if black wants to play queen f6, then checkmate, that game's over. If d6, then we have 1 and 2. We're winning the queen. Returning to knight g5. Okay, so that's really all that there is. In terms of the things black can try, we're winning no matter what. Now with b takes c3, we could see black go with d5, and this is a much better move on their end. With that, we can drop this bishop back to d3. That's what I like. Sure, you could pin the knight as well. That's fine, but I kind of like dropping the bishop back, looking towards that king side. If bishop to e7, yeah, we could take on d4 with the knight, and if castling kingside, rook to e1, We can continue playing aggressive attacking chess. We are up development at the moment, and we're trying to keep that going. So rook to e8, queen h5, looking at h7, threatening checkmate. If black stops this, we can actually play queen takes d5. Super fun move. And yeah, I mean, the best thing black can do at this point is take on d4, in which case we can take off that rook on e8 and then capture back, and we have a playable position. But this is a video talking about traps, right? So if black takes on d5, we can take on e8. We got 1, 2, and 3. That is it. That's a wrap. If the rook takes on e1, we just calmly capture back. You still can't take our queen because of 1, 2, 3. That's it. With bishop d3, let's say black takes on c3 right now. We throw in a check and play knight g5. Yes, technically black is better here, but there are so many ways for black to just automatically drop this kind of game. I mean, if h6, we have the edge. Knight takes f7. You got to take the knight. Now we throw in another check. The only move black has here to have a fighting chance is king g8. That's it. If the bishop blocks, we throw in a check on h5. We throw in that check there. I mean, where are you going to go? g6, that's not helping you. We got a bishop and a queen looking there. King g8, the rook flies in. Mate in 2. King f8, bishop a3. Don't forget about that diagonal. Really nice diagonal for us. Let's say the knight blocks, for example. Bishop g6 is what we should go with. And yeah, we're down a piece. We're down 2 pawns, but our pieces are actually doing things. This knight can't even move. If c6, for example, hey, let's take on e7. Let's take. If you take with the bishop, we throw in a check. This bishop is pinned. That bishop cannot block. You could play bishop f5, but at some point you're going to have to move your king. That's it. Let's say the queen takes. We could take the queen, but you know what? Let's just keep adding some more pressure. Let's add more pressure. Why not? I mean, if the queen takes our hanging bishop, that's it. Game over. I've been saying that's it a lot. I mean, there's just so many ways for black to drop this. If the king does go back to g8, bishop g6, black only has one move. That isn't dead losing. That's rook h7. That's the only one. Giving your king some room to run away. Okay? That's it. Let's say queen f8, for example, stopping the mating threat. Okay, we take on d5. You can block with the bishop, but at some point you got to play queen f7, and that is checkmate at move 16. And okay, if we do see rook h7, bishop a3, bishop a3. Black apparently is supposed to play bishop to e6 or bishop f5. That's very hard to find. The whole point of that is so that when we take and black takes back, we're not just, you know, absolutely crushing black on the back rank there. Okay, with queen f7, rook e8, and then a checkmate because of the fact that that rook is helping. So that said here, okay, we just keep adding more pressure. Black's in a very hard spot. If black does take the bishop, like I said, whoa, this bishop's here. The rook can't see to e8. We go check. We have rook e8. Only the queen takes. That's it. Black has no more support. I mean, they could block, but yet again, another game over. Returning to knight c3. Let's say black takes with their pawn. We're now going to take on f7. Okay, so keep that in mind. I mean, when we're playing the Nakhmanson Gambit with knight to c3, if the knight captures, if we do see this move, take back. If the pawn takes, you don't want to play queen d5 because the knight's actually going to run back and kind of do a great job defending. You want to take on f7 with check and then play queen d5. The engine move is king to f6. Hardly anyone ever finds this. Even if they do, we have rook to e1. It is a near impossible position for black to work through. Most players go back to e8, which makes sense. But just like with king f6, we're not taking this knight. We're playing rook to e1. We want to get our rook involved here. Our queen's in a great spot. If bishop e7, we can take on e4. Let's say we see d6. Let's keep on adding the pressure. Let's keep on adding the pressure. If black tries to defend with the rook, we take on e7. I mean, guys, this gambit is nuts. It's crazy how much is here. I mean, the rook takes. We force king to d7. We take. Let's say the knight captures back. What do we have here? Knight e5 check. Black only has one move. Rook d1 check. Here you have a couple of moves technically, but it doesn't really matter what black does. They're dead losing. Check. Taking the queen. Let's say the knight blocks. We could take with the rook or the queen. Take on d8. Absolutely crushing here. And going back to bishop takes e7, that was if the rook takes. If the rook takes, boom, we got that queen g8 idea available. That's a key concept in this position. If the knight takes, we got knight g5. We'd love to take the rook. You can't defend the rook if you're black. I mean, you could put your bishop in the way, but that doesn't really help you. And if the rook runs, again, queen g8. Then we take on e7. We take on g7 there, crushing. With rook takes e4, let's say we see h6. This is a crazy one. This is a crazy move. And what's a little bit crazier is that no matter what we do as white, if we don't find this one move, it's, you know, black has chances. But if we find this, it's about to wrap up quickly. Bishop takes pawn. Yo, chill. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. Like, bishop takes pawn. If the rook takes, that's a wrap at move 12. If the pawn takes, fine. We don't have checkmate right now, but we do check on h5. We do have rook f4. If the bishop blocks, let's just add some pressure there. Let's add some pressure. The bishop's going to fall. We can take it. Black could run with the king, but, I mean, checkmate on the spot. And if the queen takes, we just won the queen. And our rook is joining the action very soon. So, the Nakhmanson Gambit, guys, a ton of fun. Again, this will be included in my upcoming course on the aggressive e4 repertoire. With d4, we're playing a Scotch there. We're castling kingside, and against knight takes e4, which is black's best move. Anything else, we have the edge there. Knight c3 is what we're going with. And in the course, I am covering rook to e1 because, I mean, you know, we got to know the sound moves too, right? But with knight to c3, black there, there's just a lot of ways for black to mess that up, you know, from that kind of spot. So let me know what you thought of this gambit down below. I mean, it's a ton of fun, and I think this kind of helps Scotch Gambit players too in a lot of ways. I actually played the Scotch growing up. I played this, and against knight f6, I always played e5, and then against d5, I played bishop b5. I would look to take this pawn on d4. I would go into this whole line. It's playable for white, and a lot of people seem to do well with it. I didn't. I mean, I think for a long time when I played the Scotch growing up, I got a lot of quick, fast wins with it. And it's a sound opening. It's not like I'm, I don't know, playing the King's Gambit or something. Sorry to y'all that play the King's Gambit. But yeah, it's sound, it's strong, but I stopped getting quick, easy, fast attacks. I was getting this exact line every single time, and I got super, super bored. I wish I knew. I don't know how I didn't know this, but I wish I knew that against knight f6, I could just castle. And then if knight takes e4, okay, maybe I'm not going to do this in tournament chess. That's probably just more online and for fun. But I do have rook e1. And this as well. I mean, okay, I'm kind of going more into this than I thought I would in this video, but the only move black has that's good is d5. We now take on d5. We play knight to c3. The knight's pinned, absolutely pinned. The pawn is relatively pinned. And we're going to look to take on e4 with the knight or the rook, depending on what black does. And okay, we're headed towards an even game or a better one, depending on how well our opponent knows this position. So there's some options for those of you that play the Scotch Gambit. I hope that you enjoyed this. And a quick reminder that you do have that 30% off discount code on the Black Friday sale, only good through the end of the 28th of this month, November 2025. That discount code is BF30. Plug that in for one course, all the courses, you'll get 30% off. And I hope that you guys enjoy them. Thank you for those of you that have purchased a course. I mean, we just broke 1,000 courses sold online. And yeah, I appreciate y'all. So hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Wanted to give a big shout out to Walter, Steve, Rob, Roger, and Ray, and the rest of my Patreon community. If you haven't checked out the Patreon before, go check that out. There are some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member. And I'll see y'all in the next video.